Yeah. So in the previous session, we created the load balancers. Say load balancer comes under which layer? So
Four.
it's layer 4 protocol, and works at protocol is TCP and UDP. Okay, TCP and UDP, but we have application gateway is there. Application gateway works at layer
Seven.
layer 7, path-based routing and host-based kind of routing. All these also possible with the application load balancer. Sorry, application gateway. In AWS, it's called as application load balancer. Azure is calling application gateway. Okay. So load balancer can be region or like a region or global, but application gateway is region level itself. Application gateway is region. And again, traffic manager is there. Traffic manager is at the global level. What is the scope of load balancer? The load balancer scope is
Global.
load balancer scope is either region or global. Okay, both are
Global.
supported. Both are supported by load balancer.
Okay.
Okay, traffic manager is global. Front door also is a global.
Okay.
Okay, what is the meaning of path-based routing? So path-based routing is whenever we have like same domain, but two different paths of domain. So maybe you have google.com slash images is there. Images website it need to redirect. At that application it need to redirect. If it is slash video, maybe I want to redirect to YouTube. So these kind of redirections need to be done. And the backend pools are different. For images, one backend pool should be there. And that image application should be hosted there. And for video, like maybe YouTube should be there. So like this, we need to configure the So like this, we need to configure the
Application.
like yeah, redirection should be done. So now here we are going to create a application gateway. So almost the setup, all these are everything is same, but here we have the listener rules. Those are going to change, and we'll choose JPMC. So version 2 we have, and automatically we can enable the auto scaling also. That means that application can be auto scaled from 1 to 10 they have given, but I have chosen only 2. And we can choose the zones also, and protocol wise HTTP2, and our network is I think we have JPMC VNet 392. So here we need to have subnet must have only have application gateway. Have created a new subnet also. So that default we got default 2. So what they're telling is only application gateway should be in one subnet like that. JPMC Central India we have. Then front end IP is we have that front-end IP should be there, but this already used means we need to disable that front-end IP. We'll go for that. Backend pools. So we need to add a backend pools also. For the different path, we may have different backend pools we are going to add. The front-end IP is same, but based on the listener rule and based on the path of that, it is going to redirect to that backend pool. It is going to redirect to that backend pool. So here either virtual missions or virtual mission scale sets we need to add. Or scale sets also we can add. Then configuration. So here we need to add the front end, how it need to redirect to the backend pool. Here we need to configure the routing rule. So here we need to configure the routing rule, and we can give the priority, like maybe we can give from 100, 200 like this. The priority also we can give. And one is the most priority one. Okay. And listener name. Say, whereas application gateway supports HTTP and HTTPS level, whereas load balancer supports TCP, UDP level. This is only for the web-based applications, and web application firewall can be integrated. HTTPS, we can configure the TLS termination also. What is the concept of TLS termination is that the HTTPS traffic is going to be converted into HTTP. Okay, so now here, like either listener type is basic or multi-type. Okay, say now here host name base also. What is the meaning of multi-site or maybe virtual IP address is say same domain, multiple paths we can configure. That is path-based routing or multi-host. That means we have multiple domains. Based on the domain rule, it need to redirect to that backend pool. Okay, so two domains we have, but both are coming through the same application gateway, and based on the path, it need to redirect. As of now, we are going to choose a single kind of thing, and what is our host name or domain name we need to choose. Okay, so according to this, it is going to redirect. If it is a HTTPS, you can upload the certificate also. With the HTTPS, what is the advantage of adding a certificate here? By using this certificate, TLS termination is going to happen. That means if we have HTTPS traffic, is converts into HTTP. Otherwise, in each and every backend pool, we need to configure that setting. In each and every backend pool, we need to configure that setting. So hence, it's recommended to have like TLS termination at TLS termination at the application gateway itself. Okay, so these remaining all the same settings, but we need to configure. So it depends upon our requirement. We need to configure the URL or path-based routes. We need to configure. So once we create the virtual missions in our virtual mission, We have Finexo itself is our application. The front end tab is the same, back end tab, and we need to add a routing rule. Then port number is 80, and like here we need to choose listener type, maybe basic kind of thing or multi-site. As of now, we have basic. Okay, so then we can configure the multiple, like if you have any error pages also, we can display. Okay, so that enter page would be displayed if the user got this backend address. The backend address we are going to use. Okay, so then we are going to add this one. So here we have the backend pools. 1 second. After listener, the backend targets, we have the backend pools. Our backend pool. Then we need to create a new backend settings need to be created. So here we can use the affinity that if you use the persistency based on the session affinity, it is if you want enable, you can enable those. Okay, so then here override with host name is not required. Override backend path also is if you want to override whatever the backend path it is coming, it need to redirect to the same server. We're adding, say here, that in the backend rules itself, we can configure the path-based routing also. These all the settings are we are not getting in the application gateway. We are not getting. So here, if you want to configure path-based routing also is we can configure the path-based routing also is configurable. So once we done all this, save those changes. So now based on the front end, then this routing rules, and here these backend pools are going to be redirected. And for multiple websites, we can configure even the multiple website rules also on the same front end IP, but from the which domain it is coming, from the domain name it is going to redirect to that backend pools. So for path-based routing, definitely we'll have two different backend pools, and based on the routing rule, it is going to be redirected to that backend pool. It's going to be redirected to that backend pool. So for this, in order to practice, what we need to do is, so we have already kept one backend pool with the Finexo kind of app, but here configure one more website, maybe say sports or something like another URL. Then what is our expectation is our front end IP slash Finexo. It need to redirect to that backend pool. That backend pool where we have our website Finexo is there. If the user types front end slash sports, it need to redirect the backend pool of targets where we have the sports has been there. In this, if you go for minimum 2 missions, total four virtual missions we are going to keep. Or if we want auto scaling, then we can automatically scale up or scale down those resources depends upon the requirement. Okay, so this I'm giving you as assignment. Try to create a application gateway. Try to create one application gateway. And HTTPS termination also, that certificate will generate the certificate also we will generate. And coming to next one is traffic manager. So now whenever how this application gateway works, we'll discuss. So the client is going to send a request to application gateway. From the application gateway wise, the front end IP should be there. And if you use Azure DNS, then Azure DNS, the domain name have been redirected to the domain name is going to be redirected to the front end IP. That means here DNS returns, say end users may not know the front end IP by default. They will use the domain name itself, and the domain name we are going to redirect using Azure DNS to the front end IP. Then the front end IP of the application gateway will take the request, and based on the listener rule, it will check the connection, and based on the protocol port number, what is the path we have, based on the listener settings, it is going to redirect. And if it is a web application firewall is there, it is going to verify more like whether that URL is correct or not, session, all these that request headers, all that should be compatible, or maybe WAF need to web application firewall. For the security purpose, we are going to use the web application firewall. Then, like if the valid request, then it is going to be routed to the backend. Depends upon the listener rules. Application gateway is going to be redirecting to the backend. If that request is not valid, web application firewall is going to be blocked that for the security reasons. That the header have been modified, or maybe something the client is inserting to get more details, then it is going to be blocked. Okay, so that's the way the communication is going to happen with the application gateway. So we already the front end IP. Then we have one more load balancer type. Mostly we are going to use even in AVD also. By default, Azure provides traffic manager. Say these all like in the AVD we no need to manage, but Azure by default provides in the backend. Okay, so Azure Traffic Manager is a DNS-based load balancing. Multiple regions also is supported. So now we don't have only one application gateway. We will have multiple application gateways in the two different regions. Among that also, like we can do the load balancing across the multiple Azure regions. Across the multiple regions, like we can provide the load balancing. What is the problem with the application gateway? What is the problem with the application gateway? Application gateway is only within the region it can provide the load balancing. But I want to do it for the multiple regions. Then we need to go for the application gateway. Application gateway uses like DNS level. Whenever the traffic request comes to Azure DNS, based on the rules we set up, like maybe proximity. What is the meaning of proximity is the users are from the nearest location. Say suppose if you use Google, you would be redirecting to google.co.in. If the US users, they will automatically redirect to dot like dot US. UK users dot UK. Like this here, they will have Google will have like one traffic manager kind of DNS based load balancer that is redirecting to this. But for our applications, if we want to give also, so we need to give the traffic manager, and based on the traffic manager rules, it is going to redirect. Okay, so here we need to have the multiple regions our target should be there, and based on that traffic manager is going to take care the decisions. Okay, so we are going to create the things. Okay, multiple regions if you want to create at the layer. What is the layer traffic manager works? It works also at the layer 7 itself. Okay, means application layer, but across the global it's going to perform. Across the global If we want to have the global site kind of load balancing, multiple regions, then we need to go for the traffic manager. Okay, so then it distributes the traffic from the DNS, and based on the rules we have configured in the traffic manager, it is going to redirect. Okay, so here we have the different traffic methods are there. Okay, so we can give the, say, in the uh, traffic manager, we can give the traffic based on the priority. Say in the traffic manager, we have two types of routing methods. So we have two types of routing methods. One is priority based, we have one routing method we have, and the second one is weighted traffic routing method. Okay, so even we have more also performance wise, geographic wise, subnet wise also. I said right, proximity means or geographically. Okay, so that means the based on the IP address of Indian IP address, I'm going to redirect to India itself. For US IP address, US or performance base. So today, which region is performing well, like less latency and good response time is there? If we use the performance, it is going to redirect that. And when we choose the priority kind of thing, we want to set up a primary endpoint. So priority is we may have active, passive. So first, which one is the priority for us? Always we'll have the active is there. If the active region is down, then only we are going to redirect to. Okay, so if the active is down, then only I'll redirect to the backup passive kind of region. If I give the weight for the multiple regions, if I have, I can give the order like first go to this region. If not available, go to second region. Okay, the second routing method is weighted we have. The second routing method in the traffic manager we have is the weighted kind of thing. The third one is performance. The performance we can give, and otherwise we can go for geographic. So that is the proximity based on the user localization and the nearest location it is going to redirect. Then we can go for the subnet kind of thing also. We can use the subnet traffic also. Specific endpoint we can redirect with that. And multi-value, like any of the healthy endpoint, automatically it will choose randomly. So mostly if you have priority, if you have active and passive regions, we'll use active, passive. If you have multiple, then geographic we are going to use. Based on the DNS queries, it is going to redirect to DNS endpoint, it is going to redirect. And we can give the weight also. Based on the weight what we have given, like it is going to redirect to this. So in your environment, you can tell we have the priority, but Azure uses mostly geographically. That means whenever AVD is connecting, they may have the multiple locations. From the nearest location, it tries to give that desktop to the user. Means whenever we configured AVD, by default we are getting traffic manager. So for our applications here, we are creating traffic manager. Okay. So can you tell me what is the difference between application gateway and the traffic manager? What is the difference between application gateway and the traffic manager?
It's the support and region level applications.
Yeah, multiple regions. Say suppose definitely we need a disaster, right? Because even one region goes down, we want to redirect to.
Other regions.
Even if you choose geographic also, sometimes traffic manager maybe not guarantee it will do the redirection from the same geographic we have configured. Sometimes it may miss that. Okay, even in my office also previously, if I use Google, we are connecting from India, but our IPs are in Singapore. It is going to be redirected to Singapore IPs or Australian IPs also. I used to get in my some servers. Okay, so it depends upon that IP address. It may be taking that decision. Okay, after this we have one more type of load balancer is there called as Azure front door. So front door you can skip, we didn't work like that. But front door provides like a CDN kind of thing. So what is the CDN is content delivery network. So content delivery network, what is that meaning of CDN content delivery network is whenever we deliver the content, normally those have been hosted in the one UNC path or maybe from the web server, it's going to be delivered. But if I use a CDN, that content is going to be transferred. Say, suppose you are watching maybe Netflix. In the Netflix will upload a movie, okay, or maybe web series. That web series has been hosted in the Netflix web servers. Whenever we are using that Netflix application, the user is directly connecting to that Netflix server. That web server maybe resides in US, then user experience would be very bad. User experience would be very bad. If I use the CDN, whenever we are delivering those uh, application, that movie is going to be uh, replicated or maybe cached to all edge locations. That means Azure will maintain some of the small data centers. Those are called as edge locations. Maybe in Hyderabad we may have an edge location. Mumbai we may have an edge location. What is the advantage? That is, it is not going to be transferred or delivered that content from US web server. It is going to be transferred from the nearest. It is going to be transferred from the nearest edge location. What is the advantage with the edge location? The user doesn't get the latency. That is the reason whenever you are using YouTube, Amazon Prime, or maybe like Netflix, why we are not getting the latency is that is transferred to the user from the nearest edge location. Okay, so like this, if you want to deliver the content, like we are going to deliver from the edge location, that content is going to be delivered. Then the WAN traffic can be reduced and load on the server also can be reduced. Okay, so by using the CDN, what is the advantage is we can accelerate and deliver our content very fastly, and we can deliver content that globally. AWS having more than 600 plus edge locations. Okay, Azure also have more than 120 plus edge locations they have, covering almost 100 plus metropolitan cities all over the globe. Okay, then whenever we upload the data and when we use the CDN, what is going to happen? It is going to accelerate the performance of the application, and from the nearest location it can be done. Okay, so that is if you are using CDN also, then what is the solution we are using? If you are using CDN, what is that? Like we are going to use is Azure front door. We are going to use Azure front door. We are going to use say front door for that data there. Azure will use, but what is the advantage the client will get? What is the advantage client will get? The application is always delivered very fastly, and I no need to maintain more web servers, because directly user is not hitting the web server for that content, and to deliver that content we need lot of IOPS also, data transfers are required, that all happening from the client location itself. and the user experience also is on top. That is the reason whenever we are watching most of the OTTs kind of applications, the websites can be delivered very fastly. With CDN, it can be delivered fast. Without CDN, we are not going to deliver fastly. Okay, so we'll try to create a traffic manager and a front door also. And in Azure AVD, backend Azure is providing a traffic manager also. But one of the advantage with the AVD is those all we no need to manage. Those all managed by the Azure itself. In order to understand those concepts, we are discussing all this. But if you have your own applications on premises, we need to set up all these. Okay, so we need to set up all these in our on-premises environments also. That means you have your applications. Then we need to set up the traffic manager. We need to set up like a front door. Okay, but we don't use all the type of load balancers. Depends upon our requirement. We need to choose which type of load balancing solution works for us. Okay, so try to create more load balancers. Try to provision. Okay, so today, like definitely need to provision those load balancers.